It's 9 p.m. on the East Coast of America, and live from the WACA studios, this is Good Night. We start with some celebrity news tonight, as Keanu Reeves is in the news for the millionth time this summer, but rest assured, that's not a complaint. Between Reeves' multiple films that have come out and his appearance at the Gaming Expo E3 and his already cult following, Reeves has exploded to become the nice guy meme he was destined to be. This came to a head this past week where in Louisiana during his filming for Bill and Ted 3, Reeves stopped to sign a lawn poster that read, "You're breathtaking," a reference to his exclamation during the E3 press conference in which he responded to a fan and then the whole audience during the introduction for the new blockbuster game Cyberpunk 2077. In Louisiana, Reeves stopped on his way to the set and signed a poster, posing for a picture with the family and chatting before heading back to film the next installment in the popular Bill and Ted franchise. This isn't the first instance of Keanu performing a random act of kindness. His whole career is littered with things like this, from giving his seat up on a bus to helping out homeless people. He is the unproblematic celebrity everybody dreams about, which is actually really awesome, because I prefer a nice Keanu to a method actor like Daniel Day-Lewis. Daniel Day-Lewis is a great actor, but there'd be a lot of issues if Keanu method acted as John Wick. In local news, New England went through a tough heat wave this past weekend, and one Massachusetts town police department decided to take the weekend off. The Braintree Police Department made a post on Facebook asking criminals to cease all illegal activity for the weekend because, quote, "it's hot as soccer balls out there." The post wasn't kidding, as the heat index showed temperatures just shy of 100 degrees, much too hot for law breaking. The post ended with a suggestion to binge the new season of Stranger Things or practice karate indoors, and was signed the Popo. If only the criminals listened. We're getting reports from over the weekend that there were multiple instances of break-ins at local home goods stores, but the only things that were stolen included air conditioners and fans. And I can't say I blame the crooks. It was indeed as hot as soccer balls, and the temperatures aren't going down anytime soon. So to the Braintree Police, maybe give the shoplifters a pass just for this past weekend. They'll return to the stuff when the heat wave is over. We promise. Now, in insane news, a lamb that was crowned a grand champion has tested positive for steroids. Okay, not steroids, but performance-enhancing drugs nevertheless. The nameless lamb tested positive for a diuretic after winning the Logan County Fair in Ohio, which makes it feel leaner and thus makes it a better selection in the contest. I guess. We're honestly confused as to what this lamb is a champion in, because every source we found out about this just said it was a grand champion, but didn't specify exactly what the category was. At the end of the article, it says they're waiting for the drugs to exit the lamb system to take it to slaughter. So I guess it was which lamb looks the tastiest competition, since nobody said otherwise. But we're going with a home run derby. Congratulations to the nameless lamb for winning the Logan County Fair Home Run Derby, I guess. Either way, the organizers of the fair stress that they check every animal entered into the festival for performance-enhancing drugs, because since they will eventually be eaten, it could be dangerous for people to consume the drugs in these animal systems, but also pretty messed up to give an animal steroids before a competition. But there are plenty more heinous things that go into food production. So we'll just end this story with congratulations to the nameless lamb for taking first in the only home run derby championship. Godspeed, little lamb. Now, in uniquely New England news, Tom Brady posted on Instagram the other day, and the video contains him and his daughter cliff diving into a pond. Well, when I say him and his daughter went cliff diving, I mean he jumped off a cliff holding his daughter's hand, so she inadvertently went with him. Now, Tom, was just trying to be a supportive father and help his daughter face her fears of heights. But you gotta be careful, Tom. As one commentator keenly pointed out, he could have dislocated her shoulder pulling her down, or even worse, let go of her halfway down and tossed her for a 70-yard completion to win yet another Super Bowl MVP. In either case, it has New England fans worried, Tom. Please don't scare us like that again, because she's going to be your replacement when you eventually retire. That's going to do it for the news this week. Stay tuned for Lucy's Burdge This Week in Music History, in addition to some hits from our crew celebrating National Pet Fire Safety Day and National Ice Cream Day. And don't go anywhere, because we have what's trending on Twitter to discuss, in addition to a debate over the president's actions last week. So keep it locked right here on Good Night.
This is Lucy Burdge with Good Nights This Week in Music History. We begin in 1968 when the Jackson 5 signed a one-year contract with Motown Records. In 1969, the Beatles started working on the John Lennon song Come Together at Abbey Road Studios in London, of course. Also in 1969, Aretha Franklin was arrested for causing a disturbance in a parking lot in Detroit. In 1973, Jim Croce started a 2-week run at #1 on the singles chart with Bad Bad Leroy Brown. Also in 1973, David Bowie released the single Life on Mars, which is appropriate for this week in history. In 2000, Oasis was booed off stage during a show in Switzerland after singer Liam Gallagher insulted the audience. In 2007, Ja Rule and Lil Wayne were arrested after a concert in New York on charges of carrying illegal firearms. In 2011, Amy Winehouse was found dead at her home in London. She was 27. And in 2017, Justin Bieber was banned from performing in China because he had engaged in bad behavior. This has been This Week in Music History with Lucy Burdge. Be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Lucille Burdge for both.
Harry, where's your good boy? Come on. Up on the chair, up the thing. Come on. He's pissed. Alright, we're gonna be good boy and sit. Affix a pet window cling. Write down the number of pets in your home and any other information firefighters might need and attach it to your front door. This will give them vital information when entering your home.
Hi, Todd here from Good Night. And one thing for your pet's safety is to make sure that you extinguish any open flames that are in your house, including stovetops. And if you have a fireplace, that would be a good place to make sure that your pets are safe around and extinguish it when you leave the house. Because pets like this little jumpy guy can jump up and potentially spread a fire or cause a fire in your home, which can put their lives at risk. Don't scratch me. I'll have to kill you.
Hey Ellie, want to be part of a video? Since pets left alone can't escape a burning home, make sure your smoke detectors are wired to a monitoring center. This gives an added layer of protection beyond battery-operated smoke alarms.
Another thing that you can do for your pets is to make sure that you pet-proof your home, especially for fires. There are appliances like your stovetop. A cat like this one could jump up and accidentally turn on your stove or your oven. So make sure, again, it's just like child-proofing, but pet-proof the home. That way they can't potentially start any fires that will put you and your pet at risk.
Practice escape routes with your pet. Keep collars or leashes nearby in case of emergency. That way either you or a firefighter can lead your pet out of the house. It's going to be kind of hard for you, isn't it? You're not really going to follow a path that we practice, are you? Yeah, let's practice a route, Oski, right now. Come on, let's practice a route. Ah!
Another thing you can do is keep pets near entrances. This is especially true. We do this for this young pup, and that's because if there ever is a fire, that gives them the best chance to escape. Especially something near the ground floor is preferable, just so that if there's an issue, they have an ability to escape, just like you would want to have the ability to escape yourself.
And also, make sure to secure any loose wires and keep glass bowls off of your wooden decks, as sun rays can catch the glass bowl and start a fire on your deck. You got a nice shot of Zig there. There he is.
I just got a face full of hair. I don't know if you caught that. I pet him and right in the face.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Good Night, our new segment, What's Trending on Twitter. Joining us tonight, Nick Fetherston. Hi Nick, thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me back.
It's a pleasure. And John Kerwin making a return appearance tonight for What's Trending on Twitter. Thanks, John. All right, guys. You guys are all familiar with the number one thing trending on Twitter, Mr. Rogers. Nick, let's start with you.
I used to watch Mr. Rogers when I was young. It wasn't new or whatever when I was a little kid, but I certainly remember watching it and always enjoying it. And I'm definitely excited to see the new movie. Tom Hanks, I think, is a great choice.
You do?
Oh yeah,
Good.
I think he's great in every role he does.
Is he better as Woody, or is he better as...
Well, that'll be a wait to see, but I think Woody's a very different character than Mr. Rogers.
What do you think, John?
Being Mr. Rogers for him is going to be really hard to pull off. This might be his best acting job. I mean, Forrest Gump was very, very difficult to pull off, and he did. His role in Philadelphia was very, very difficult to pull off, and he did. I think the only movie he did that kind of bombed was probably Bonfires of the Vanities.
Yeah, I think you're right, yeah.
But he's pulled off multiple roles, but now you're looking at someone who's been an icon for generations, and he's going to have to try to pull that role off, and he's built a lot differently than Mr. Rogers, doesn't look a lot like him, is a little bit more ruggedly put together. Mr. Rogers, if you remember him, was just plain, a plain guy, just very soft looking. And soft, what I mean is, soft as, not like he's not a tough person, but it's soft as, he just had that warm aura about him.
Yeah, like a gentleness. Tom Hanks is he's very defined,
Yeah.
structurally.
Well,
But
the
I think
real Mr. Rogers was actually a Marine.
Right.
So he was actually a pretty tough guy. He's probably more famous in his death now than he was in his life. Is that a fair statement?
I would agree. I would think him and Bob Ross are both more famous in their death.
Bob Ross.
Well, Bob Ross has been big, huge lately.
No, that's
Not
true.
to bring in Bob Ross but yeah.
But do you think this will be you know a lot about film and stage? Do you think this will be a big blockbuster?
Oh, totally.
Totally.
I think it will be.
Because even the documentary did very, very well. And a lot of schools are now running the documentary on Mr. Rogers. So it's going to be interesting.
I mean, whether it's good or not, it's gonna make a ton of money.
Well, what is it going to be? Is it going to be a comedy? Is it going to be like a documentary type of thing? Is it what's it going to be like?
Yeah, I think that's a very good point right
Because
there.
you could really make a comedy out of that with all the the ancillary characters and the choo-choo train and the king. The king was a riot.
Yeah.
You guys ever see Mr. Rogers when he went in front of Congress?
I have seen that. It was kind of uncomfortable to see kind of how serious and stern he was, but still Mr. Rogers.
I'd have to, as a political geek, I would have to say it's probably one of the most dynamic presentations I've ever seen.
Oh, it's
I mean, the way they were basically going to eliminate PBS, and he convinced them in one speech to keep it. So it's pretty should be interesting.
Well, it's funny. In real life, he lived those principles that he espoused on the show. So he lived.
He wasn't playing a character. He was
No.
that was just him talking.
I think the world needs a little bit more of that right now.
And those sweaters were actually knit by his wife or his mother.
I think it was his mother.
Really?
Yeah, they were.
I've heard that.
I didn't know that either. Yeah, you learned something here on Good Night. All right, Connor, back in the studio. Our next trending topic on Twitter is the Face app. John, did you download it?
I'm already old. I don't need to. No,
What-
I didn't. And, I looked at, I saw a lot of folks doing that on social media, and I thought it was kind of fun and, funny, but, I just couldn't be bothered with it. I just really couldn't, that'd be more annoying going to look for it, so I just decided not to. And then they came out with what? They came out, they said could be a Russian
Communist plot.
communist plot. But I guess something came out today that said, no, don't worry about it, so.
Did you download it? Nick?
No, I
No.
wasn't really impressed by it. Like I thought, like, oh, that's cool, but it's not like anything new. Like, I feel like that's been like technology that's been like available for a while now. Like, I've definitely used filters that have made me look old before, and then it's like, how accurate is that really even?
Well, it could also
In the
make you
long
look
run.
younger too, but it seemed like everybody wanted to see what they look like when they're older, right?
Well, yeah, everyone already knows what they look like when they were younger.
Now, there was one that came out a few months ago that had you made the opposite sex.
Yeah, that was on Snapchat, which has one that makes you look older as well. The opposite sex one I actually thought was kind of interesting, and I maybe only because I already had Snapchat that I looked into it, but that was actually pretty impressive, I think. I think
You're
it's
seeing more and more of this in the movies though too, where they're making people look either younger or older. Is that a good thing?
I think it's definitely interesting. That's, I think, on a much higher level than just a static image. Like, that is like a 3D scan of their head, and it's seamless in most cases. There are a couple where it's a little bit iffy. Like back when they did Rogue One for Star Wars, when they made Carrie Fisher look younger, she looked kind of
Fake?
Yeah, kind of fake. And then there's even technology where you can just completely remake a person in that same movie. Peter Cushing's character, Grand Moff Tarkin, they just made him from scratch. He's been dead for years.
Till you like it.
I'm okay with it.
You're okay with
Who
it.
was that movie with Brad Pitt where he starts out as an old man and becomes a kid? Was it Benjamin Button?
Benjamin Button, yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing how
That's
they
pretty-
did that. Yeah.
That's,
I mean, if the storyline fits, like Robert De Niro, how many times has he changed his appearance?
Right.
Hundreds and hundreds of times.
But is the world becoming too app crazy?
I mean, I don't see an issue with like Face app. Like, no one's really dependent on it. It's already kind of starting to phase out. People thought it was like a neat little thing, and now it's moved on.
But how many millions of dollars in marketing does it have to take to get an app that has a lifespan of 2 weeks?
I would argue it wasn't really like super great on the marketing side. I think some people used it, and then the way the internet is, people spread it themselves for like free advertising. I mean, it was a free app.
So it got no revenue.
Right.
Well, I think they ran ads on it, so they get some revenue, but only from people looking and clicking on the ads.
It's amazing how things have changed, right? Remember, we're about the same age. I'm a little
Right.
older than you, but as kids, you were entertained. Your entertainment was, you either play with your friends or, you had your brothers to beat you up or whatever it was, right? And then you had the TV 5, 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, and that was about it. Now you're entertained 24 hours a day, any way you want. Is it a good thing or is it a bad thing? I guess it all depends on perspective, right? I mean, if it's a good thing if someone can use it as entertainment, but also at the same time be a good person, be productive, help old ladies across the street, that type. But if it's dominating your life and you're just kind of fading off into the sunset.
I don't know. I
You
think
wanna-
eventually I worry about the breaking point, because even like this past weekend, I'm at Lowe's, and the young man ringing me up at Lowe's is looking at his phone as he's ringing me up, and he literally missed 2 items, and you missed this and you missed that, and he's looking at his phone and texting. So eventually, there becomes a line like, of course, there was no eye-to-eye contact or anything like that. So I do worry about stuff like that.
Well, it's funny how much, it tells you how much technology has changed the store. I was reminded today that when I was a kid, real little, like 6, 7 years old, there used to be a supermarket called A&P. It stood for Atlantic and Pacific. It's still around, but not, we had like 2 of them in Medford growing up. They didn't have cash registers. What they would do is they'd take the paper bag, now we're back to paper bags, and they would actually write down all the items on the paper bag and they'd add it up. You pay your bill, so you had to pay attention.
Remember when people had to look up your credit card to see if it was a bad credit card too? In a book? Yeah, they had to look at it. Yeah, so.
Well,
The world has changed.
yes.
All right, Connor, back there in the studio, what else is trending on Twitter? People who confuse me. Well, we could talk all night about that. AOC, she confuses me. Who confuses you guys?
Well, you took the words out of my mouth.
Oh, what's that?
You took the words out of my
Oh,
mouth.
okay. Well, please expound on it.
know-
How did she get elected?
I think it was her energy that got her elected.
And her good looks and personality, I think.
But it was definitely her energy. Because, anybody that has a lot of energy and speaks real fast and speaks loud gets a lot of attention. And I think her opponent took it very lightly. Thought of her as what we think of her, but he couldn't get in front of he just decided not to get in front of the voters.
Who confuses you, Nick?
Most people these days. I don't know. Everyone's just hard to get a read on these days. I feel like everyone has either no values or really inflated, unrealistic, and in some cases problematic values. I think people these days kind of value style and size out of substance. Take, for example, somewhat more non-controversial example, pop stars. They see themselves as these super smart, prolific people who think that they're making grand revolutions and big moves in the world, when in reality most of their songs are produced on a computer. They don't write any of their own lyrics, and all they do is kind of dress a little fancy sometimes and go on stage and make weird faces.
For example, who? Like Ariana Grande?
Ariana Grande is the most overrated person in America right now, I think. Billie Eilish is another one who I've just never seen the appeal in.
You're getting some reaction back in the studio about that one. But
Well, then there are people that make the joke that
Stand by.
Bruce Springsteen's the only singer who doesn't use words.
that's true.
Bruce Springsteen is
You know who confuses me? Is Scott Zolak. Do you ever read his tweets?
From the former Patriots quarterback and the 98.5, the Sports Hub?
You ever read his tweets? You don't know what he's talking about. Peter Gammons, too, is another one. You read his tweets?
Peter Gammons has gone off the deep end.
Yeah.
Used to be the baseball genius, and now he's
I don't
definitely
know. I
gone
don't know.
off the
I
deep
never
end.
saw one of his predictions ever actually happen.
All right, Connor, back in the studio. What else is trending on Twitter? World Emoji Day.
What?
True story, John Kerwin. The first person who ever introduced me to what an emoji is your young daughter. 'Cause
Really?
She took my cell phone years ago and said, how come you don't have the emojis up on your cell phone? And she activated them, and it brought a whole new world to me. And at first I said I would never use an emoji, and now I use a lot of emojis.
He uses them a lot.
A lot,
You
yes.
can write a sentence in all emojis.
You can.
Is it a good thing?
I mean, people could say whatever about my generation and texting and whatever. I have never understood the overuse of emojis. I'm not going to sit here and say I don't use them. I use them pretty frequently, but when people use them to write full coherent sentences, or in my opinion, incoherent sentences, then I think you're getting a little carried away. 1 to 2 per sentence, I think, should be your max. But yeah.
Do
I
you use
gotta-
them, John?
I use them, and I think they're a good thing. Because what is the worst thing in business? What is the worst way to communicate in business?
Well, an email. 'Cause
An
You
email.
can't tell people's tone.
You can't tell their tone, you can't tell their feeling, you can't really tell much. It comes off as angry, right? That's,
Why'd you use capital letters?
sounds
Why are
like-
you
yeah.
yelling at me?
Oh no, I
wasn't
totally agree
yelling
with
at
you
you.
there.
They come out, so with emojis, you can put your emotions into it, right? You can put a heart, you can put a smiley face, you can put a sad face, a sick face, anything you want, and that can kind of take the edge off, and it can kind of add a little bit of emotion to it. So
Well, yeah, that's what I agree. That's what I do. But 1 to 2 at max. You don't need any more than that.
it gets you to think. It does get you to open up your mind to think about what someone's really trying to say to you. So it is kind of helpful in communication.
Well, see, but now they're so commonplace that people put them in to make it seem like they're not being like aggressive, but now it's mind games.
It could be. It could be.
Some of them are semi-controversial. I mean,
There's a middle finger one now, I'm pretty sure.
there's a middle finger one now, and there's...
They have more than one meaning.
Well, yeah, certain things on there have taken on new meanings. Not all the foods mean food.
Right.
Yes.
Products.
All right, so we'll end with that. When we come back, we're going to have John and Nick join us again, and I think it's going to be a controversial segment. Is Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States, a racist? We'll be back right here on Good Night.
What day is today, Connor?
Well, Todd, today is a very special day for me, and for I think the whole world. And it's National Ice Cream Day.
What does that mean to you?
What does it mean to me? Well, ice cream has been the source of joy in my life for a long time now, and pretty much the only thing that keeps me happy in life is ice cream. So I'm very much looking forward to celebrating this day. Ice cream makes the world go round.
Now, what's your favorite type of ice cream?
Mint chocolate chip. Next question.
We're gonna get along just great.
Mint chocolate chip is the GOAT ice cream flavor for me. But I'm not a vanilla hater. You know, there's a lot of vanilla haters out there.
Oh
that,
no,
like,
you gotta respect the vanilla.
Vanilla used to be my favorite flavor of ice cream for a long time, and I get a lot of hate for it. They'd be like, Connor, you're so boring. Why do you like vanilla? I'm like, well, I'm just kind of a vanilla human being, you know?
All right, Connor, so where are we going for National Ice Cream Day?
We are going to Tried and True, always there if you need it, the Grill and Chill, home of the Blizzard, Dairy Queen.
What do you like most at Dairy Queen?
I like when I order a Blizzard and then they come and they flip it for me, but it doesn't come out.
That's always freaky.
I've heard that if it actually does come out, then you get a free Blizzard. And so I always try to like flip it over for most of the time.
Do you have any bangers we should throw on right now?
Yeah, I'm listening to some jazz right now. Let's go, baby. Happy National Ice Cream Day, everyone. What are we gonna do? I want a new Blizzard. It dripped. Happy National Ice Cream Day. Todd, what's your favorite ice cream flavor?
Mint chocolate chip, same as you, buddy.
Same as me.
Yeah, it's my thing.
What does ice cream mean to you on a deeper level?
It means cooling down on a hot summer day, and it just means deliciousness. I've been trying to fill up my veins with ice cream. I've been told that it'll kill me, but I mean, it's worth a shot, right?
We're kind of boring by all accounts. I mean, like, we both got the same flavor.
Yeah.
There's no variation. There's no like Rocky Road in there or anything.
Rocky Road?
Rocky Road?
But yeah, we didn't get any chocolate chip cookie dough or any like specialty flavors. I don't know, but that's okay. We're just keeping it original. What do you have to say to the people on National Ice Cream Day? Final words.
Go out and get your damn ice cream.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Good Night. Should be an interesting debate between a guy in his 50s and a guy in his 20s talking politics. Donald Trump, the President of the United States, last week told the squad of 4 freshman congressmen to go back to their countries. Now, we could talk all night about it. I'll be the first one to start off the conversation. I tweeted that I thought it was wrong that the President of the United States said that. Because 3 of the 4 people were actually born here, and all 4 of them are a United States citizen. I think he was wrong. We're here to talk about it if it was racist. Nick, we'll start with you, the younger one of the crowd. Was Donald Trump, what he said, racist, or is he a racist?
I think what he said was completely racist, and yes, I think overall that Donald Trump is a very racist man. Like, there's so much evidence to back it up that, like, I don't really think there even really is much of an argument to say that he's not.
All right, we'll back it up then. How do you
Okay.
back it up?
Well, let's go way back to what his entire election pretty much stood on, to create a border wall on the Mexican border. Now, I'm not saying that better border security is not a good thing. I am of the belief that the border needs to be a little bit more well backed up in terms of just the overall immigration process in general. But Donald Trump was doing it as in a place of hate because he is biased against anybody of Hispanic descent. And to bring it to the congressman, sorry, I was told I was going to be doing this debate right when I came in today. So he tells people who aren't white, just any people who are not of Caucasian skin color, to just go back to their country without, number one, backing up to see if they are even from this country or not. Great example of this, Barack Obama, the birther unit movement.
Mm-hmm.
His entire argument based on, for anyone who doesn't know, back when Barack Obama was president, Donald Trump began this entire movement to try and get Barack Obama to present his birth certificate because Donald Trump did not believe that he was from this country, that he was not a United States citizen, that he was not born in the United States. And his only evidence for this claim was that Barack Obama was not a white man. And Donald Trump was not a fan that Barack Obama was an American citizen. Barack Obama was then proven to be an American citizen, but Donald Trump didn't take that as enough proof.
All right, John, your thoughts.
Well, let's start with his tweet. Okay, in his tweet, yes, I will concede. Was it a great choice of words? No. Was it factually correct? No. And I think he acknowledges that. Was it racist? That's debatable. Does he attack any ethnicity? No. Does he attack any country? No. Does he attack any person? No. And he clarified his comments when he came out and he said, these are 4 congresswomen who have demonstrated that they don't like him. This is what he said. These aren't my words, folks, okay? Don't kill me. I know some of you want to, but don't worry about it. He clarified his comments saying that these women, he says they hate America, right? So what he's saying is that their philosophies and beliefs kind of go against what our culture has become, right? And he's saying if they don't like it, he'll leave. Just like Alec Baldwin said he was going to leave and he didn't leave. And all these actors and actresses that didn't leave, right?
Cher and so
Cher,
forth,
and
yeah.
there's been a bunch of others. So actually, one of them did leave. One of them did move to Toronto, I think. But anyway, the Barack Obama birther movement wasn't Donald Trump. He just kind of stepped on the gas and said, hey, I just want to see a birth certificate. I want to see a birth certificate. He never attacked Barack Obama. He never attacked anybody from the Middle East, right? He never attacked anybody from another country. He never attacked anybody's race, right? There was some evidence to show, there was some evidence out there whether, there was some evidence out there to lead people to believe that Barack Obama may have not been born here, such as registering as a foreign student when he went to Columbia, right? Now,
And a different name.
in a different name and all these other things, right? Now, personally, did I think Barack Obama was born in another country? No, I thought he was born in Hawaii. I thought it was legitimate from the beginning. I never questioned it, and no problems. But he wanted proof and evidence, and eventually it was produced. It was produced in his second term, but it was produced. But do I think he's a racist? Well, there's a story. Did you ever hear this story? There was one Christmas Eve night that there was a homeless man out in New York who happened to run into Donald Trump at one of his hotels. He was sitting outside, and Donald Trump stood him up, gave him a job. And this was in the 80s. This man's still working for him and praises him day to day. I've known people that personally worked in his campaign and traveled around the country with him, right? And they weren't middle-aged white men, okay? Spoke volumes of the man, some of the things he's done. Now, personally, I've never interacted with him. Okay, I've never sat down and had a conversation with him. Okay, I can't see somebody raising to the level that he's raised and done the things that he's doing as being a racist. Does he use bad words? Not bad words. Does he use a poor choices of words? Yes. Has he done it multiple times? Does he tweet before he thinks? Yes. Okay. Does it make him a racist? I don't think so.
So, Nick, you made a statement earlier that he's obviously has anything against any Hispanic people. What do you reference when you say something like that?
Well, actually, a point that kind of ties into that and to something John just said. Going back to when he said, "If you don't like it here, then leave." So, if that is the case, if he's straight up saying, "If you don't like the way your country is, then leave," you would think that he would have the same values towards people who are trying to come into this country because they don't like how things are in their country, and has not made the immigration process even any easier for other people who are trying to do the same thing that he is instructing these people to do.
How do you make it easier?
Well, I'm not quite sure I'm the right person to speak on that, but it's his job to try and find a way to make that easier. Instead of, stopping all immigration whatsoever, like he's been trying to kind of do with a wall and separating families from their children at a border stop.
Well,
Fair to say that
that's
he
been
d-
going on for like almost 30 years.
Oh, I'm not saying
He
that
didn't start it.
I
I'm
know
not saying he can't fix it, but he didn't
I'm not saying
start
he
it.
didn't start it, but
Right.
it is certainly became a bigger issue as of late.
More
and
harder,
not stopping something, I would say, is close to the same level as he might as well have
Well,
just
you know
be
something?
condoning it.
Us living up here in the Northeast, 1,500, 15, 18, 2,000 miles away from the border, we're not the right people to have the opinion on the border. You got to live down there. You have to understand what goes on, right? You really need to live like in San Antonio and Amarillo, Texas, and Galveston, and all these towns that are on the border to really understand. Now,
Now, your eyes will tell you that we got a problem.
yeah.
Your eyes will tell you we got a problem.
And you're going to hear you can hear millions of different stories. You can hear stories of, ripping, when they say ripping children from babies, children from the mother's arms, that's not literally like,
Oh, no.
no, right? And, that's all rhetoric brought up by the Liz Warrens of the world, who are just trying to score political points. Who, by the way, came out today and said we're looking at another economic collapse in 2020. Did you
Yeah,
hear that?
I did see that. I did see that.
Okay. So, until you can really understand what's going on down on the borders, whether you're in Southern California, Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, right, even Miami, right, because they get a lot of Cuban refugees.
Mhm.
Well,
Yep.
probably not as many as they used to.
Well, the southern border is a bigger concern than the
Bigger
northern
concern.
border.
Right.
But speaking of down south, President Trump was in North Carolina holding a Trump rally again last week, and the crowd started chanting, "Send them back, send them back."
Mhm.
He then says the next day that he tried to tamper that down. I watched the footage of that. He did not try to tamper that down. And, sometimes I think, Mr. President, you just should have said, listen, I could have handled that better. Instead, he says,
Well, to
I
him,
tried
not,
this.
well, to him not putting gasoline on the fire is tamping it down.
So that goes back to the point is that, the conversation that we're having tonight is Donald Trump a racist? I don't know. I think he does a lot of silly things. I think he does a lot of stupid things. I think he says a lot of stupid things. But then you look at some of his history, and some of his history says that he's made a difference in the black community. His work with Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton is well documented. But then other people have told me that, his father was friends with David Duke. So I think Donald Trump is a impromptu takes opportunities to its fullest advantage. And I think he's his own worst enemy. And I think he's brought a lot of controversy and shame to the country. But the question I have for both of you now is the word racist gets thrown around so often and so easily now that what does it mean to anybody anymore? And we'll start with you, John. I mean, when somebody says,
Oh, it's definitely muddled, and Congress taking that vote really lowers the bar. Now, can we take a look a step further?
Sure.
Look at Ayanna Pressley's comments.
Okay. The Congresswoman from Massachusetts,
Right. Are you familiar with
specifically
with
the Somerville area.
okay.
Yep.
She said, brown people. We need to elect brown people that are going to represent brown initiatives, right? Something like that.
Okay.
Now, that's saying, okay, only brown people can be elected for these certain issues, which kind of cuts off all kinds of other people. That to me, that's more. Her comments are much more racist than anything Donald Trump has ever said.
Okay. Nick?
I don't necessarily say that that was the best way to word that, but I think what she means is kind of like what you, along the same lines of what you were saying about to only understand the border, you need to kind of live down there. To understand, the issues of a certain background of a person, you need representation from that background as well to fully understand, certain social issues that they go through. Now, we don't experience such comments about, we need white people to figure out white issues because it's kind of how it's always been. Government in the United States.
Did you notice the one color she left out?
I did not. What was that?
Take a wild guess.
I'm assuming it was white.
It was white. Now, when you're elected to Congress, you represent a district. Folks there can be Asian American, they can be African American, they can be Latino, they can be white, they can be any European descent, right? They can be from anywhere. They could be Samoan, they could be Hawaiian, anything, right? Mm-hmm. Does it matter? Does it really matter if the representative is black, white, Hispanic, Latino? Doesn't really matter, right? It shouldn't.
It shouldn't matter. But you've been in politics a long time, as I have been. Sometimes it does, though. Sometimes it does.
Sometimes it does.
And I think, that is sometimes the case. I've been to 5 Trump rallies, either in terms of politics or covering them from media events. It's fair to say it is a predominantly white crowd. Mm-hmm. Predominantly, I'm not saying that it's an all-white crowd, but it is a predominantly white crowd. But I have been struck by some supporters that I've actually interviewed at some Trump rallies from the African American and the Hispanic community. He does have support in those communities, and he actually did well nationwide in some of those demographics. Is this going to work against him in his re-election campaign? Because some people are saying that he's trying to divide this country by design to win the next election.
He's already won the next election.
What do you think, Nick? Is he trying to divide the country, or is he just stupid with his comments?
I don't know if he set out to divide the country. I think he is doing that, but I'm also not sure he's 100% aware that he is doing that. As much as I hate to admit it, Donald Trump probably has won the next election. I unfortunately think that is kind of the situation we're in. Of course, only time will tell. I'm not going to speak more on that, but hopefully
Donald Trump real war isn't with any ethnic group, isn't with any person. It's with the media. That's his only war.
But he started that war himself.
He did,
and
he did, and he wanted that fight, and he's brought it on. And he's fought it better than probably anybody else ever has. I mean, he's trying to. What he's been trying to do the last 4 years is point out the dishonesty in the media, the double standard in the media, and he's brought that to the forefront, and people are recognizing it now. I mean, look at the news. The news organizations are all falling off. Nobody's reading newspapers anymore, which is.
Well, that has nothing to do with.
There's a lot to do with it. The left. The media tends. The media leans to the left. It's leaning harder now, right?
But he's chosen Twitter to get his message out to the base rather than the media. Is that a good decision?
Whereas I don't necessarily agree with his messages, I do actually think it is a good method. I think he needs a little bit more help, proofreading and making sure what he sends out is not absolutely ridiculous. But I think to kind of expand on what I just said about it has nothing to do with it. No one reads newspapers anymore. We are, as a society, looking for more fast-paced ways of everything, and that includes how we get our news and our information. And I think Twitter is a really modern and active way to get information out quickly, so a lot of people will see it, and it comes directly from you, and it's not spun in any sort of way.
But in everybody's rush now to get the exclusive story or the breaking news, a lot of times what you read on Twitter or other social media is not accurate.
It's true.
If you used to read it in the newspaper, for the most part,
it's a 24-hour news cycle.
It was factual.
Everybody wants to be first, and we're finding out a lot of times getting first is wrong. Like that legislator down in Georgia, that's now a hoax, right?
Right.
Someone told us go back to where you came from, wherever
And she now admits that
it's a hoax.
That the guy never said it.
Barack Obama was the first president to use social media to get elected, and did a masterful job at it. You know, a lot of times getting ahead. You know, like the first guy to send out postcards rather than send out
Right.
things in envelopes. He's a brilliant guy. Who was that guy? But anyway.
So getting back to,
no,
the
Twitter-
topic of the discussion, is Trump a racist? You both have said tonight that you both think Donald Trump will get reelected. One of you happily, one of you begrudgingly. So if a country elects a president who most people identify as a racist, what does that tell you about America right now?
I think a lot of Americans recently are inherently racist, at least the ones that are out voting.
Okay, well, that's a controversial statement. Okay.
Well, I mean,
Well, the thing is, who's saying he's a racist is the press. And the press wants to portray him as a racist, right? Nancy Pelosi wants to portray him as a racist.
Right.
So you got to consider the source. And I think the country, I've always said America votes for what it needs. It always does. We've done it for a million years, 200 and something years now, right? And the American people can kind of see through what's going on in the media. American people are smart. They're not, that's why we always vote for what we need. I mean, we needed Barack Obama at the right time because he was that type of guy that could kind of
change, yep.
hope and change. He could soothe old wounds and things like that. Now people voted for Donald Trump. You know why? Because the people were just tired of, people wanted somebody who's just going to throw a right-handed punch when we needed to throw a right-handed punch, and that's what he is. And who's going to be the next president 6 years from now? What's America going to need in 6 years? And that's what the person's going to win.
Have either one of you followed Marianne Williamson's rise up through the Democratic ranks? She's running basically on a platform of love. And she
I've
basically
seen
called
that.
out Trump at the last Democratic debate and just said that she would debate him on a stage. And, her words that Trump runs on hate, she's run on love. I think that would make for a fascinating debate. I've actually followed her. She's got a pretty interesting message. I don't know that she can govern, but I do know that she's got a message that she believes in. And
Speaking of messaging, see his messaging is falling apart in front of his eyes?
who was that?
It was Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders wants was it $20 an hour now? Minimum wage? It was
$15 an hour.
Someone wants
And
20
He
now.
wasn't paying his campaign workers.
He's not paying his. He's not paying.
He couldn't afford to.
He couldn't afford to. He's got to lay them off, cut their hours, not give them health benefits, and they're like, "Well, wait a minute. You said every healthcare is a right." Yeah. So
I think
he's.
Bernie's time has passed. I think he missed the bus. Do you agree?
No, I agree. I think he really did miss the bus, and I think he overshot the runway a
He's
little
finding out his utopia is not reality, which will filter down to the squad, who believes in his utopia. Except for Ayanna Pressley, I don't think she's that far deep. I think believe it or not, of the four of the squad, I think she's the sane one.
I would agree. I think that's a fair statement. Who on the Democratic stage in the debate has the best chance to defeat Donald Trump? And will race become an issue in that head-to-head race? Go ahead, Nick.
Certainly Elizabeth Warren, I think, actually has the best chance. I can't say that I'm an Elizabeth Warren
And
supporter.
a woman who claims to have been an Indian and it has been proven to be fake, then pulled the race card on the President of the United States.
Well, it's certainly going to happen. Whether she has the right to pull that card or not is, up for the voters to decide. But, I'm not going to get into that. But I do think that she has the best shot. I think Bernie Sanders, as we've said, is he was a last election kind of thing. I don't think Joe Biden really has as high a shot as many people think that he does. I think he was kind of only really liked because of a wanting to cling on to the Obama administration. I'm not attacking Joe Biden whatsoever. I think he would do a fine job if he were elected president, but I don't think that he has as good a shot as Elizabeth Warren does.
But do you think, John, they'll pull the race card on him?
Oh, they're going to pull the race card. Yeah, yeah. But I think if there's one candidate on the Democratic side that could give him trouble, is Julian Castro. So I think he's the guy that's probably closest to middle of the road that could give him trouble, but he's never going to get out of a Democratic. He won't last through Super Tuesday.
No, I don't think so.
But he's probably.
But he could be a vice president candidate.
Yeah, maybe not the.
Well, see, that's the thing. It's like
maybe
she certainly could give him the most trouble, but He's not going to get the nomination. The nomination is going to go to Elizabeth Warren, Joe Biden, or Bernie Sanders.
So it's a
You can't-
retirement.
you
It's a
can't
retirement
dis-
gift.
You can't dismount Harris because she's, senator from California. Then there's a lot of votes that come from California.
Yeah, but does she get enough convention votes?
There
And
you
then
go.
and over there, and don't forget, the Democrats have that super delegate thing, so they can put in anybody they want for the super delegates. Now, it's funny. The Republicans have one candidate. Well, Bill Weld, he's not really a candidate, but Republicans have one
Bill
candidate.
Weld is just running as an anti-Trumper. Yes.
Right. 2016, the Republicans had 17 candidates. You could look at that stage and say, you know what, any one of these guys would be a great president, right? So now we'll have 8 years of Donald Trump, right? So in 2024, when the seat's up for grabs again, the Republicans' bench isn't going to be strong. It's going to look like the Democrats' bench
Right.
was in 2016. So the Democrats will, in 2024 will probably have 7 candidates that could win.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll coalesce around one real strong candidate that will probably win.
Well, folks, we could debate it here all night, but I think what a nice thing that just happened here, Nick thinks that Donald Trump shows, his racist tendencies. John does not, but I think we had a good, healthy, productive debate, and we'll pick it up again here next time. We're going to take a quick break here on Good Night, and we'll come back and we'll wrap things up right here on Good Night. Hey, thanks for tuning in to Good Night, and special thanks to Lucy Burdge for This Week in Music History, and Nick Fetherston and John Kerwin for a lively discussion. We'll see you next week at 9 p.m. for another edition of Good Night.